Yeah.
Okay, we're going to
anything but that.
a little segment called Questions Answered. This is your opportunity. We can answer anything that you want. Anybody want to start off? Okay, yes.
Got a question. I noticed at the convention you had a frozen custard machine.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know you can make, there's recipes online with frozen custard made with a batch freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Compare the two products, end product, with a traditional frozen custard or through a batch freezer. What's the difference in?
What do you like better?
I don't know. I've never had.
Well, you've had
side by
ice cream,
side.
you've had frozen custard. What do you like?
But he's saying using the different machines.
For the same product. You can make a custard, an egg-based custard with a batch freezer.
Technically, it is a slightly different product.
Right.
It is.
We invented the frozen custard machine in 1923. And it was a big seller back then. It's basically a small continuous freezer. It's always coming down the chute all day long. Brought it back in the 90s for Culver's, bringing it back now in 2022. It's a very small market. If you're on the Jersey Shore and you order custard, it's just another name for soft ice cream. Anything that comes out of a soft ice cream machine is custard on the Jersey Shore. If you go to Rita's and you order custard, it's soft ice cream and they've added some egg yolk to it and they're calling it custard. If you go out to Wisconsin, it's made on a frozen custard machine continuously coming out of the machine at about 15 to 20 gallons an hour, very slowly coming down. There's almost no air in it and it's a super delicious vanilla ice cream. You could achieve the same basic texture if you took Haagen-Dazs ice cream, put it into a bowl and stir it with a spoon until it gets sticky and gummy. So when someone asks, what is frozen custard? I ask, where are they in the country? If you're in Wisconsin, you really know what the stuff is. Pockets of places, Texas, they have some Culver's stores, they know what it is. There's other franchises that make frozen custard. Basically, it's a 10% mix with, I think it's 3.5% by volume egg yolk and run through a custard freezer. That's the true stuff, and it's so thick that there's a guy, Ted Drew in St. Louis, who's famous. He fills up a big 16-ounce cup with it and turns it upside down and hands it to you, and it's called a concrete. The batch freezers, our batch freezers will make frozen custard. If you're going to harden it and scoop it and serve it in that fashion as a hard scoop eating with a spoon, it's a great product. If you're going to do a business just around the custard machine and be, putting it into dishes and serving it soft all the time, then you need a custard machine. So one, it's part of the machine. The other one, you're doing a whole business with a $55,000 machine that specializes only in custard. Very limited market. Frozen custard places don't sell anything else usually except frozen custard. And I don't like using a TV broadcasting term, a one-trick pony. You don't want to be making just one product. I want to be in the frozen dessert business. I want the ability to make hard ice cream and cream ices and Italian ices and dairy-free and gelato and custard. Doesn't mean I'm going to make them all, but I want that ability, all within the same package. So they are technically two different machines to make the same product. Anybody else?
The custard machines, you can serve it and eat it right away, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another difference too, is as it's coming out, you put it on a cone and you can eat it right then and there. A batch freezer, you'd have to harden it overnight and then you hand scoop it to where it looks like a scooped ice cream.
Gotcha.
I have a question for you, Jeff. You, as everybody knows, you had Mystic Ices for many years, were incredibly successful, and then the allure of the beach and the sand between your toes called you, and you moved to South Daytona Beach, and you have a new business there. So a series of questions. First off, what's it called?
It's called Cherrydale Ice Cream.
Okay. And it's in South Daytona Beach?
No, it's Daytona Beach Shores.
Daytona Beach Shores.
Right, it's right on the beach,
Right on the beach.
A1A.
Okay. So at the old place, it was famous because you were in probably the largest retirement community in the United States, in the world.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of people coming in after dinner, adults my age generally,
Not
coming
that
in.
old.
And ordering ice cream, and the secret was that you were actually running a nightclub that also served ice cream. You had entertainment in the form of you doing magic
we
tricks,
had other
you had
things.
music,
Yeah,
you
music.
had a lot of things going on. It was
Yeah.
entertainment.
Right.
What do you do differently now at the new store that you didn't do there?
Nothing.
It's all the same?
I copied everything.
Okay.
Because it works. It works.
And do you get the same crowd?
No, it's half touristy. Half people live there and half touristy.
Do you see a lot more younger generations coming in?
You mean like your age? Yeah.
Yeah, that's younger.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Significantly.
Yeah, she doesn't have
Yes.
gray hair like we do.
Yeah, it's a mixed crowd. I didn't know what to expect at the beach, but you get everything. You know, you get kids, and I hate kids. You know?
Yeah, we all know that's not a secret.
We can't cut
Jeff.
the tape, but that's okay.
You know, not my audience. You know, they're loud. I won't go into it, but we get a diverse crowd. We get young families, young kids, skateboarders, and then we get the people who live there. Across the street from the store, there are 60 20-story condominiums. You know, it's like Miami Beach, you know, it's condominiums. And those people live there. And generally they're older, you know, because they can afford to live there. It's not inexpensive to buy a place on the beach.
Yeah, my father-in-law lives in Daytona Beach, so we go over there every now and then.
We'll stop and see I'll give you free ice cream.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to bring my kid, sorry.
Well, one free ice cream. And you can leave the kids home.
Are you doing the same one portion size?
It's what I believe in. One size, one price, one cup, no mixing flavors, no toppings, no samples.
I'd have to agree with that on the one size, because if I go into any store and I see a small, especially ice cream, and I see a
course.
junior or a kiddie size, I'm ordering it. I will, and I
When
will
I
pay
first
$2 for it and walk out the door.
Absolutely. When I first started, the day I started my business, it was $2, $3, and $5. And a guy came in, and I offered him, I had coconut ice cream, so I had, and he said, "I'll take one." I said, "What size?" He said, "How much is it?" I said, "It's 2, 3, or 5. Well, no surprise here. He said, "I'll have the 2. 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, a family comes of 4. "What do you have?" "Coconut." "How much is it?" 3 and 5. I just killed the 2. What do you think they bought? 3. So that was the end of that. So for 10 years, everything was $5. And you get the best ice cream in the world in a cup with a spoon. And that's it. It took a while to educate people. You know, they would come in, they want banana splits, they want sundaes, they want sprinkles, they want cones, they want all this stuff. But I decided, I feel I can make the best ice cream in the world. I really do. Better than anybody's ice cream, I make the best ice cream. Now he can do it too. But I figured, let's specialize. Let's cater to people who really want ice cream. If my best flavor that I started with was coconut, and it's amazing coconut ice cream. It's ridiculous. If you take that coconut and put hot fudge on it, and put a spoon in it and give it to somebody, what are they going to taste?
The fudge.
They're not going to taste the ice cream that I pride myself in and work so hard to create and master. They're not going to taste it. So why bother? I could go to the store and $3.99 for a half gallon and scoop that all day if I'm putting hot fudge on it. So I decided that I'll make a name for myself by producing the world's best ice cream. And it's homemade, no preservatives, no emulsifiers, no artificial colors, All our ice creams are basically beige. You saw what we made today. And what we're going to make this afternoon is beige. There's no color going on because we don't add those colors. And we don't jump it up with flavors. If I need more flavor in an ice cream, I'll add more of what I make the ice cream out of. When I first started, my very first book on the cover, and Steve, God bless him, he backed me 100%. It said, don't use cans and jars and bottles of stuff. Go to the supermarket. It's right on the cover. Go supermarketing. And he does that now too. And it's a marvelous thing to do because all the flavors we grew up with are in the supermarket. I mean, Oreos and Famous Amos cookies and M&Ms and Snickers and Kit Kats, they're all in the supermarket. All you got to do is buy them and make ice cream. So that's what I do. It's really not hard either. I mean, to make the world's best ice cream, he learned in one day, both of them learned in one day how to make the world's best ice cream, and he believes it now because it was so simple. So simple.
Even just walking into the supermarket and going down the produce, or, you know, honestly, my favorite is the Hispanic aisle. They have the best, you know, cream of coconut, and they have the dulce de leche. They have so many great flavors.
Did you hear how she went into that accent when she said that?
She does it all the time.
Yeah, dulce de leche.
I can't help it.
That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Hey, I need a cup of coffee. And add some dulce de leche.
My husband, when he went to Colombia, he called me on the phone and he said, how did he say? Bonus noches or something like that. I was like, oh, it's like honey.
Ow.
I'm like, honey, no.
It's Atlanta.
So making the world's
bonus
greatest
Sanchez.
ice cream, to make it is the easy part of going into business. And I'm not promoting my class because I fill up every class. But you take the class and in one day you learn how to make the world's best ice cream. That's the easy part of opening a business. All the other stuff is where you're going to have to apply yourself. The insurance, the sales tax, the employees, the location, the layout of your shop, everything we teach, that's the part where you're going to have to extend yourself a little. But as far as making the world's best ice cream, it's a piece of cake.
I think this is the class you're talking about. But while I'm holding that up, I'll tell you another interesting thing, a component of what Jeff is doing that none of us saw coming, and that is the labor market and the problem with labor. You can't get labor. It's impossible. You can't pay enough for labor. Even if you could, you can't find anybody who wants to work.
Certainly can't pay enough as the government is paying them not to work.
That's right. So Jeff's idea, which was radical and extreme a few years ago and has always worked very well for him, is now ingenious, because if you're putting on sprinkles or making banana splits or all that stuff, that's very labor intensive and the money's not there. What do you charge for a portion?
Well, for 10 years it was $5. Now I'm at the beach. I know I'm crazy. $6.
Okay, so $5 or $6. Imagine the ease of just scooping that out hour after hour all day long. I mean, you're going to need an armored truck to come to the store to pick up the money, as opposed to all the ingredients and all the hassles. And what I found growing up, since I was not on the football team, I was not 6 foot and huge. Baskin Robbins was always the survival of the biggest. After a football game, they had nothing but everybody bum rushing the store, and whoever was the biggest got served first. And I ordered I've told this story before, I ordered a butterscotch sundae, no nuts, with vanilla ice cream. And so one person scoops the ice cream, the other one puts on the nuts, and then a third person puts on the chocolate syrup, and I'm at the cash register, and it's not at all what I ordered. So now we've just got chaos.
And
in
meanwhile,
the
the line is getting longer and
yeah,
longer.
and Jeff's, it's boom, 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 get it out. And if you're the family and you feel that's too expensive, well, you'll go buy Breyers and have it at home. But it's not the same experience.
And I'll tell you, one second, I'll tell you what offsets the fact that you get one flavor. You get a lot of ice cream in a cup. I mean, it's pretty much 16 ounces. It's almost a pint for the $6. But what offsets the fact that people only get ice cream in a cup with a spoon We also put a pretzel in. I've been doing that for years. But what offsets that is the environment. And I think this is probably number one after making ice cream, is to have a place that people feel like it's home. Music is always playing. There's an eclectic variety of chairs, couches, stools. There's a coffee bar in there for espresso and cappuccino. And the walls are filled with memorabilia from my era. But anything will work. But when they walk in, they're already part of the family. And buying ice cream is a bonus. So they don't, oh, I can't get a banana split, or no. But you can get the world's best ice cream and relax. We even have games there. We have a whole cart of Monopoly and Scrabble and Parcheesi and checkers and chess and all that stuff. And they play. They sit and play. And that's fine.
One question I always like to ask people, and you don't have to respond to it, just think about it. But you ask an audience, keeping in mind Jeff's place and the family atmosphere now, which is a lot of fun, is when you were growing up, where did you go for ice cream? And most people get a big smile on their face. They remember where they went for ice cream. It could have been the local deli. It could have been Baskin Robbins, like me, Friendly's. It could have been
Howard
the hometown
Johnson's
ice cream parlor. But it's so ingrained in our growing up process, ice cream is, that it always brings back fond memories. Christi and I were talking about yesterday that she was talking about getting people to be adventurous on making ice cream, and so she was asking some of her friends, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Hoping that she'd hear, you pronounce it, dulce, what's it?
Dulce de leche.
Oh, it
Dulce
sounds
de
like
leche.
it would be that, but it was vanilla.
It's the Italiana, I can't help it.
It was vanilla, but everybody knows where they went for ice cream. And that's what you're doing, is you're building memories. And something I mentioned earlier in the day, that if I come to visit your town and I come to your ice cream parlor, let's call it Jones's Ice Cream Parlor. Well, the locals don't call it Jones's Ice Cream Parlor. They call it my ice cream parlor. Come on, I'm going to take you down after dinner to my ice cream parlor. They don't own your business, but it's where they frequent. They feel comfortable there. They feel relaxed. It's got memories. And that's a unique thing to a business. You don't get that selling hot dogs. It's just wonderful. So there's a lot more component to this business. If you like dogs, and then you're going to like people, and you'll do very well in business. If you like small children, well, I've got nephews and nieces and grandchildren.
Look,
I'm getting
we
there.
welcome them. You know why we welcome them?
Because they spend the money.
Of course. Yeah. They're paying for my beautiful house on the beach and everything else. They're paying for it. So, nice shirt. But we welcome everybody, and I've changed a little too. When I first opened Mystic Ice Cream, it was a little bit aggressive. I still did everything I'm doing now, but the mindset changes a little. I think I've mellowed a bit, Steve.
Yeah, a little bit.
And now
The long knives don't come out when we're having a conversation.
right.
And we put them away.
And I don't even sell cones, because what happens with cones? Homemade ice cream, by the way, is inherently softer than hard store-bought ice cream, because it doesn't have the things in it that he knows about. Ours melts a little quicker. And if you give a big cone to a 7-year-old, well, you got clean up on aisle 2 right away.
Yep.
And I want to avoid that, because we're busy. We see 400 customers a day, and I want to avoid clean up in aisle 1 all the time.
That's not a small issue, because nowadays everybody's driving an expensive car because they're leasing them. And it used to be we all piled into the Ford the Ford station wagon and went down and got ice cream, and it had genuine plastic leatheroid seats, and it got on the seats and nobody cared. Now you're getting ice cream all over Dad's heated and ventilated seats in his leather seats in his Audi, and that stuff, once it gets into those little holes, doesn't come back out again. And so you want a product that holds up. So soft ice cream is absolutely dead. Frozen yogurt is absolutely dead. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, you can always find an exception to anything I say, but those products are dead. Homemade American-style ice cream is what everybody, as Jeff says, everybody in the world either eats ice cream or wants to eat ice cream. And that's a great thing. I mean, you can't say that
There's
about a
no
coffee
other
shop.
product, no other product like it. I mean, you can sit here and watch 5,000 cars go by and know with confidence that every single person in every single car that goes by, every one of them, likes ice cream. It's hard to think about anything else that solves that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, you had a question.
Well, I had a comment, or I don't know, an open discussion.
Comments are later. Anybody else? No. Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this name right. Stone Cold Creamery?
Yes.
I've walked in there one time. Do you think they've overpriced themselves?
Is it
I don't-
overpriced?
Have
I
you
don't
ever
know.
been in there?
No, once
you've
I
never
was
been
in
in
there.
there?
That's is it the roll pans where they scrape it into rolls?
I'm not
No.
sure.
It's like a ice cream.
Stone, is it
It's like a
Stone
marble
Cold
slab.
Oh, marble slab.
Marble slab.
Like marble slab.
And then they add
That-
ingredients
They're
to
not
it.
in it for ice cream. They're in it for show. They're in it just so that you have a presentation to see it. That's
know-
all. And the lines are too long.
Well, I know I was in there one time, and it had to be a special occasion because I just remember the price. I don't remember anything about the ice cream. I just remember it was just so overpriced. So they've never gotten my business again.
You know, when I looked in Daytona Beach, which is where I moved to, so I wanted to be somewhat close, I found a location and it was real good. It was an old 7-Eleven that had gone out, and the size was a little bigger, but okay. 1/2 block away, I mean, from here, closer than the building right there, is a place called Cowlicks, a big fancy ice cream building, been there 30 years. It's on the Chamber of Commerce maps. Everybody knows it. I mean, it's an institution. And everybody said to me, do you know that Cowlicks is right there? You can't open up. I said, I don't care about it. And I'm not maliciously trying to put them out of business or anything, but I know what I sell. And you can't get it anywhere. There's 4 or 5 ice cream places. We're on the beach, obviously, so there's ice cream places. Nobody has what we have. Nobody has what they'll have, because they're going to have the greatest ice cream in the world. It's the best. My ice cream is better than Haagen-Dazs, which I think is great ice cream. You can't compare the ice cream. And the place there, next door to us, they don't make their own. So I don't even have.
So this big fancy place that's on the Chamber of Commerce map doesn't even make their own ice cream?
No.
Wow.
No, but they've been there for 30 years,
I guess they'll be retiring.
and it's an interesting looking building. Yes, Matt.
I got more of a technical question for Steve on one of the machines. On the 24 quart, and I asked this only because I used to work in optical labs and we used to use chillers and recirculate water to cool machines. I know it's water cooled. How much water, if you run that machine, say, for an hour, how much water is cranking through it on a water-cooled system, and would it be advantageous, or do you have any customers or clients that use like a chilling recirculating system to save, just to save your water bill?
Let me do some quick math real first. Let's see, 3, 4. You're probably going to you're not running it for an hour. That's the trick. You're only running it for 8 minutes. So let's say you're making only vanilla and you get 5 batches out, and it's going to use 1/2 gallon of water a minute. Okay. So in 8 minutes, it's using 4 gallons. So 8 fourths, it's only using 32 gallons in an hour. That's nothing.
Okay.
So the thing about water is, water is always expensive. It seems seemingly expensive, but if you look at your last year's water bill and this year's water bill, it only went up pennies. Whereas your electric bill, to remove the heat, this large room we're in right now, I could raise the temperature in here easily 8 to 10 degrees with an air-cooled machine after a couple hours. I have to remove that heat by air conditioning, and that's very expensive. And it's the air conditioning I'm buying in the form of electricity is a power company that is raising their price 3 or 4 times a year. The water bill is a bill that is decided by the city fathers of the town of fill in the name, and they want to get reelected, so they don't dare raise the rate, or not very much. So water cooled is very efficient in that matter. Air cooled should only be for instances like if you're in Jamaica and they're dependent on rainwater for drinking, you go air cooled. If you're on a septic system, you may not want to put the water, and you're not in city sewer, you may not want to put it out. Though I had one guy pump it out to his pool, It's heated water. Another guy had a fountain running, so when he was making ice cream, the fountain worked. There's creative ideas.
Well, I do the dishes while the machine is on, it's right next to
Yeah,
it,
you
because
see
I
the
have,
water.
you saw, I have nice hot water coming in.
Yeah.
If you do get up to, say, more than 2 machines, if you get up to 2, 3, 4, which is the rare store, because they make so much ice cream, then you can do a water recirculating system, which looks like down here in Florida and Texas, we all have air conditioning, and it looks like a small air conditioning unit outside, but instead of pumping in cool air, it's pumping in chilled water. So the water goes into the machine at maybe 50 degrees, comes out at 109, gets cooled outside and comes back. It's what they call a closed loop system. So it's always going like that. To do 3 machines and size it for a 4th machine, just in case, you might be looking at about 8,000 or 9,000. So it's not something you jump into, but it's always an alternative. I can always take these water-cooled machines and take them off the grid. Air-cooled is forever. And no matter, there is no way to transfer it. There's no way to blow the air outside. You're stuck. So everybody, the first question is always air or water, and they want to tend towards air, which also costs $1,000 more to buy.
I'm 100% towards water. I just was kind of just wondering about the volume.
But there is an alternative. But Jeff's got one of the best ideas. Do other things with the water. It's not legal, but it's technically drinkable. I mean, it's only going through all copper lines. My old house up in New York was lead pipes that were rusting and getting worse.
Well, we don't drink it, but I
but
do
you
use it
could.
to clean wash dishes when I'm doing it. I fill the large buckets because I know I got to rinse the machine afterwards. I use what I can.
We have farms that's pump it out to a holding tank to cool it back down to ambient temperature and then use it for the cattle. So there's a lot of ideas that you can do, and it really comes down to when we talk to you, it's a store by store basis, and that's one of the ones we go over. I had a situation that was hands down should be water cooled. And then she talked a little bit further, and I was asking about the neighborhood because it sounded nice up in Boston. She said, "We're on a cranberry bog." I go, "Where's that water going?" "Oh, we're going to dump it into the bog." I said, No, it's going to kill the cranberries, and they're going to haul you away because that's a great crop. So we didn't go water cooled. So we take that on a case-by-case basis as we talk to people. But 90% of the machines of the bigger floor models are water cooled, and they're great.
That's what we talked about earlier. Did you tell them how it only uses water when it's running?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're in an area where the market for Italian ice has already been set forth and certain flavors are out there, do you recommend introducing new flavors or stick with what is already out there and just kind of...
Pickle Italian ice.
That's our market. That's what it is. It's
Okay.
pickle Italian ice and stuff like that.
Well, that's a good starting point because everybody loves it. You're only going to make it better because it isn't going to have traveled from Philadelphia to West Texas or some other faraway location or Georgia or whatever. But the other thing is a friend of mine who owns a business multiple businesses up in Staten Island, Ralph's Italian Ices. Ralph came down here, and to make a story short, he goes back up to Staten Island and he says, "We want to make ice cream flavors in Italian ice." And I said, "Okay, so what are you thinking?" He said, "Well, I'd love to make Oreo cookie Italian ice." And I said, "Well, I think there's a way we can do that." So instead of the more expensive dairy product, he's using water and sugar and Oreo cookies. And the only thing I had to come up with to make it work, and it's a delicious flavor. It's so refreshing on a hot day that you just want more of it. And it's so inexpensive, you can have more of it. Dairy product, when you drink a glass of milk, it has flavor. It has a specific flavor. Cream has a stronger specific flavor. Water has no flavor. So the big secret that has been handed down through his generation to generation of Italian families back to Genoa, Italy, is you take the number of Oreo cookies you use in the ice cream and double it for the ices because water has no flavor. So we're going to add more flavor. Now he's making mint chip. He's making Oreo cookie. He's making chocolate chip cookie. He can make salted caramel. Any flavor that you can do in ice cream, I can now do in Italian ice by just doubling the flavor.
Or even, that's when that Jeff's supermarketing, how do you say it? Supermarket?
Dulce de leche.
There,
She says it better, but that was pretty good. You got better.
comes in handy. I wanted to do a pina colada version of Italian ice. So what's in a pina colada? What does it taste like? So I got a can of cream of coconut. I got a can of crushed pineapple, Malibu rum, and water and sugar. Literally dumped everything in one container, stirred it up, taste it, spot on, need a little bit more Malibu rum, froze it. It came out the best Malibu, what did I call it? Malibu Italian ice or something like that. It's fantastic. Just start coming up with random things. You know what tastes good together when you bake or when you make any sweets, or you've had this before, like pistachio ice cream goes great with pistachios and cherries. So you can do a pistachio cherry ice cream. So just start thinking of things. You know,
And
Jeff's made
play
peanut.
to your demographics.
Definitely play to the demographics. You guys are so fancy with dulce de leche. In the Bronx, that's deuces with leeches.
Yeah.
See, like lavender ice cream, I don't see selling very crazy in the Bronx. You go to, Rodeo Drive, absolutely, with the Chanel and the Gucci
Oh,
and the
but
Prada.
it's the best flavor.
Let me
You
give you an
tell
example.
that.
Once you
Let's
try
say-
it, it's great.
This is an example that may play into that. Let's say you want to buy a car. You're in the market to buy a car. Where do you go? You go to the place that there's 50 car dealers on both sides of the street because you have your choice of anything. Now think about the car dealers. They're smarter than we are. Guy wants to open a car dealer. Where does he go? Well, I'm opening up where all those other car dealers are. Why? Increased traffic. And he thinks, the man from Toyota who's going to open up, he thinks, well, my Toyotas are better than those Fords and Chevys. I'm moving in there. So it's the same thing with ice cream. I didn't care who was next to me, and you shouldn't care what they're selling. You're going to be your own person, your own store, and you're going to make a name for yourself. So open up and do your thing. Doesn't matter if there's ice cream stores next to you, ices places,
Yeah.
what they're selling.
Make it
None of
better.
that matters.
It gets crazy. I'll show you a flavor that only sells in one city in the United States of America, and it's one of my favorite flavors after I tried it.
It's actually my daughter's favorite.
Grape
believe it or
nuts.
not.
Remember grape nuts? Those things that we used to give it to our friends when they had their molars taken out,
Yeah.
just to razz them. We'd send them over a box of grape nuts. These things are, they're teeth crunchers. And you put this in vanilla ice cream with a little maple syrup, and oh man, it's great.
No, he does
They
it
wanted
better than
at
that.
the Flavor Festival. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
He's missed an ingredient. He takes golden
I'm Steve.
Steve missed an ingredient. Golden raisins, not the traditional.
Oh, yeah,
brown.
the raisins.
The golden raisins. So he takes a little bit of the dairy mix out and puts it into a container, and he puts exactly however many raisins he's going to use and puts it in the dairy mix and sticks it in the fridge overnight. Those little dried up pruny golden raisins aren't dried up anymore. They have plumped up with that dairy mix. And oh my gosh, my daughter, she's not a little kid. She's 14 and she's taller than me. Just FYI for everyone else to know. She calls it the cereal ice cream, and it is her favorite, and it's an amazing, amazing ice cream.
Even better was my Uncle June, Emery Thompson Jr., but we all called him June. Poor people. They'd come into the factory and or you're going to meet with June today. And they're thinking, oh, some pretty attractive lady in the South Bronx. No, what do you want? That was my Uncle June. My Uncle June used to take the golden raisins and put them in a bowl with rum and let them soak for a week in the refrigerator. And he said, you must use a proper amount of rum, and it's important that you check them daily to see how they're doing, absorbing the rum. So they never got to the ice cream. But the fun thing about soaking the raisins, the golden raisins in rum, is when you bite into it, you get a squish of rum in your mouth. It's great. How about we have some lunch? Everybody hungry? You're hungry, or you want to ask
I
questions?
have one last question.
Okay.
What are the warranty on the machines, and as far as servicing them?
Okay, it's 1 year. On the big machines, it's 1 year parts, 90 days labor. On the smaller machine, it's 1 year parts and labor. And on all the machines, from the day you call us, the second you call up and say, hey, I'm thinking of going into the ice cream business or the Italian ice business, you are now under our lifetime technical support. We don't care where you bought it from. We don't care even if you buy a machine. Our attitude is we are going to give you every bit of information we have for free. That's why we make all these videos. And you can call up anytime because we know you're going to end up with Emery Thompson. You can't expand without it. But that's the first line of our technical support. And it's open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. 363 days a year. The only 2 days we're not open for service is Easter and Christmas. Other than that, you can call at 8:30 on Sunday night, and you're going to speak to probably me, because all the phone calls right now go filtered through my phone wherever I am. I've got office phones in different locations, different houses, and I filter them. So if you're looking to order a front cover gasket, I'm not even going to call you back. I'm going to send it over to Kendall for tomorrow morning. If you say, hey, my machine's got a problem, we've been building the same machinery basically for 117 years. We know batch freezers better than anybody. I've done repair calls for Capigiani's because I know them better than they do. And so we know what you're doing wrong. You put a blade in backwards. You call Paula and you say, how much is an expansion valve? Now Christi knows this one. My refrigeration man says I need an expansion valve. And my wife is so tired of hearing it. She says, no, you don't. We looked up your records. You haven't sharpened your blades in 4 years. And the old blades, the old ones, had to be sharpened once a year. Your frost is building back into the compressor. It looks like a bad expansion valve. Send your blades in. We'll sharpen them for $100 and you'll be back in business. Malik Rose called up. He's a retired basketball player for the San Antonio Spurs. He also did commentary for whatever the sports channel is, and out of Philadelphia. And he calls up 8 o'clock at night, Saturday night, and his machine after 5 years is banging and clanking and making terrible noise. And if that had been Taylor or Capigiani or Electrofreeze or Stolting, they would have taken the information and they would have had a guy there Monday morning. And on Monday morning, they would have changed the expansion valve. So that's all they know to do. $300 for the valve, $300 for the labor. And then they'd make ice cream with you, or in his case, ices. And then everything worked perfectly, and you say, oh, that's great, I only missed one weekend, and they were here before 10 o'clock, and it cost me $600, but my Electrofreeze is back up and running. I got the phone call. I said to Malik, hey Malik, what are you making? Oh, we're making cherry ice. Malik, taste it for me. What's it taste like? And he tastes it. He goes, oh, Steve, it's terrible. It tastes like cherry juice and water. Hey Malik, you left the sugar out of the formula. There's no sugar in there. You're just freezing cherry juice and water. That won't make Italian ice. Italian ice is sugar. That's why the machine froze up. He didn't need an expansion valve. He didn't have to wait 3 days, add 7 pounds of sugar, and he was back in business. That's what we do, and we do it better than anybody in the industry. That's why we sell more machines than anybody in the industry. If you have a soft ice cream machine, you've got to go buy a Taylor. I absolutely insist you go buy a Taylor, because the damn thing's going to break 5 times a year in the first year alone. And then it's going to break 10 times in the second year, because there are 15 people under the age of 18 who are running your soft serve machine, and it's one of the most complicated in the world, and it's going to break. These things are built to be simple. We're simpler than any other machine on the market. The average lifespan of my machine is 40 years. Some only last 32 years. Some last 70 years. But the average is 40. There's nothing else. Jeff will tell you, there's nothing else in your store that is going to go that many years without ever breaking down. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. I used to compare it to a Rolls Royce until people told me that the Bentley is built better. So I'll go with Bentley. But when you say it's the most foolproof thing you own?
It's the heart of the business, and it doesn't. Somebody asked before about replacing something. Oh, the blades. When I was adding sugar to the blades, and I made a comment. Well, you'll have to replace them after 30 years instead of 40, and all that's true. Look, I have an in here. I can keep spare blades in my store. I can keep spare gaskets, and I don't have any of that. You don't need it.
No, don't. I don't advise that, because you can lose it or you might forget about it. No, they don't dry out and rot like a lot of people think. Also, our parts are all FDA, and they're all for food products. So just going to Home Depot and trying to buy an O-ring, that's not going to work. Your health department finds out, they're not going to like you very much.
And the majority of the machine is either manufactured in here or 2 doors up at our other factory or across the street. Mm-hmm. It's all the parts are made here. Of course, we don't buy motors or compressors, but I buy made in the USA. There is not one piece of Emery Thompson that's sitting off the coast of Los Angeles, and there never will be. I won't even sell to China. I refuse
So when
to.
stuff starts to, like you need O-rings or you need, what is it, the springs,
Okay.
you have time to get it, right?
Oh,
It
of course.
doesn't go out
You have a
just-
year
No, so
or two.
we keep everything in stock, and the biggest question I think I've heard all last year was, well, how are you short on all of your products? Like, well, we're not. We hand make just about everything that we have. Obviously, we don't make O-rings because we're not a rubber, factory, but we have everything you need. So if you need something tomorrow, you call today and you need it tomorrow, we can get it to you tomorrow. If you lose
They're
something,
virtually maintenance-free.
yeah. So
And-
just your springs and O-rings every year religiously. That's the only two things that we require.
We used to be 4 weeks to build you a machine. Now on the CB350s, we're 8 weeks, and on the bigger machines, 14 weeks. Not because we're missing parts, but if you go into my kitchen in here, you're going to see about 120 pieces of paper, which are orders that have to be built. We build so many machines. Every year, for the last 17 years since we moved to Florida and got out of the Bronx, we have grown exponentially because we build a better machine than anybody. Nobody does what we do and does it consistently.
To play off of that, customer, I didn't tell you about this one. A customer called earlier this week, and he had everything ready to go. And Steve will preach about that. He had everything: his hats, his T-shirts, his store, everything, but no ice cream machine. He calls up.
All day long.
Yep, he calls up and he goes, I need to order, a 24 quart, blah, blah, starts going on. I said, okay. So I start going over, I answer his questions, everything. He goes, now, what's the lead time? I said, 14 weeks. Oh, well, I need to open up, in the next month. Okay, well, I have everything ready. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm sorry, but 14 weeks is what you have. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I guess I'll just have to go buy a Carpigiani then. I said, okay. He goes, well, they sell the most in the world. I said, okay.
They don't.
And he goes, well, that's a fact. I said, okay. And he goes, well, thank you. And I said, bye. He'll be back. He'll be back.
There are no used Emery Thompsons anywhere. If you find one, call us. We'll look up the serial number. It's probably 40 years old because stainless steel looks just as pretty 40 years later. Mm-hmm. And do you want to, the heart and soul, we're not here to sell you a machine today. We're here to teach you about the business because we think it's so great to get into. But the heart and soul of your business is your batch freezer. Whether it's a Carpigiani or an Electro-Freeze or an Emery Thompson, there's nothing more important. Your dipping cabinet, you may have two, so you're okay. Or you can go buy a chest freezer. Your signs, you can stand out there and have someone hold up a sign that says, Steve's Homemade Ice Cream Parlor. There is nothing more important than the ability to make your product. I was a salesman, an outside salesman for many years. I needed to get to people. I needed a car. I didn't need a Bentley. I needed a reliable piece of transportation. It didn't matter what it cost. It had to get over the Whitestone Bridge out to Long Island, and that was it. So the most important thing in my world was my car. The most important thing in your world is the ability to make the product that you're going to sell. Mm-hmm. That's why it kills us when people call up and they've ordered absolutely everything and they go, oh, well, we got to start making our product tomorrow. Well, let's go down to Lowe's and pick up a batch freezer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Let's have some lunch.
Okay.
I'm starved.
All right.